Alright, so this is my second part, the mission statement. So in the first part, I talked about how I learned about UDL, and this has prepared me to teach. Using UDL has made me prepared. I believe using the list above will help me include all my students while supporting their needs. Tying into UDL is differentiation. I have learned about this in many of my classes, and we apply it in all of our lessons, and I've seen it in my practicum class as well, and this is something that I feel very confident with. In my practicum class, one example I have is we did little small groups, and we were with the intervention readers, so these are the readers that were right above grade level. So this was already a form of dividing them up to help them. And in my small groups, I use differentiation. And if there was most of the time there was one student that wasn't really understanding what we were learning that day. And so usually they were sitting next to me, and then I would give the other students a task to do, like reading. That was one of the things that we did, and they would like time themselves reading to work on their fluency. So I would have them do that, and then I would go over again with the student. Another way that I would help the student would have the other student like help explain it, or I'd ask the group again, like, hey, what sound does A make? And then they would all say it, and then I would explain it to them, so then the whole group is getting it too, because maybe some of them weren't understanding it as well. In my practicum class, there were about 5 students with learning disabilities, and I thought it was really interesting to see how their aides and everyone was helping them. There was one student that was I'm trying to think of the name of it. He had multiple different written forms and stuff, and he was very physical, and he would have outbursts during the classes and stuff, and I think it was a really good experience for me to have, so that like I know how to interact and help those students. The best way that we could help him was by like removing him from the classroom if he had an outburst, and just he had an aide on him, or an aide with him at all times, so that was helpful. Then we also had multiple kids with ADHD. I thought it was interesting to work with them, and was a little bit challenging at sometimes, especially if I was like being observed or something, when I was like worrying about that, but I was also trying to help teach them, so that was a little challenging at sometimes. There was this one student, I was having her read aloud to me, and in the middle of her reading, she just like stopped reading and then was looking, and so from that I learned that like you have to be really patient with them and try and find ways to make it more engaging, and so that they can focus longer, and to not get frustrated with them because they can't help it. And then there was another student that had an IEP. I'm not exactly sure what her learning disability was, but she was out of the classroom quite a bit, but I got to see and help her with her reading, which she had a hard time with, and she was at a very different level than the rest of the kids, but it was really interesting to see where she was and like how I could help her, and that like she had her own, it was cool to see like her own learning plan that they had written for her, which I think will be really helpful in my own classroom one day. Anyways, that's all I have. Thanks for listening.